A man must understand the complete differentiation between replenishing the body, love, and life for the God's radiance to fully transform himself into a terrifying beauty. A woman who caresses with her voice can be tempestuous, but a woman who cares from her soul invokes something in a man which he can amount to. Tender is this kind of love that prioritizes the multiplicity of life above itself. That's from my book, The Book of Oldishness. And it seems to me that the longer you go without giving into these dark sexual temptations, the more that a man integrates his feminine side without losing his ruthlessness nor his logic. And it seems to me also that the longer a woman goes without falling into temptation, she integrates the ruthlessness of the masculine without losing her ability to nurture and that kind of sensual and sensational passion and compassion. That's really what I think that happens, and there's more of a balance as well going through this. And this has been 4 years now since I've last watched Korn, and it's amazing how just the action of purity in of itself, because you don't need to take extreme measures to do this, right? You don't need to do extreme measures at all. The thing is that you don't need to convince yourself that you need to be all in on virtue. Because to go all in on virtue when you're trying to overcome any kind of addiction, it's not going to work. It's just not. Especially if you have a past where there's been addictive personality traits, let's say, to that. And especially when it comes to Korn, sometimes I've given men advice where if they can't go even a day without it, I'll tell them, well, then have you tried to just do as much as you can within a week? Like, have you tried to just go all out? And, they'll say, well, I don't know. That seems kind of weird, like as far as advice goes. It's like, well, I'm not really giving you advice. I'm just asking if you've tried it. They're like, well, no. It's like, well, maybe you need to get it out of your system. Maybe if you give yourself permission to just... Now, I don't mean get it out of your system as in like, yeah, go sin. Go get the sin out of your system. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I want to be very clear about this because I've had a couple of one-on-one mentorship calls recently where I've discussed this kind of thing, where I talk about the circle that is virtue and vice. And I do talk about it in my book here, is where if you lean too hard into virtue, it becomes a vice. And likewise, if you lean too hard into the vice, it'll become a virtue. And specifically when it comes to Korn, I think that many people are, it's kind of, you have to think about this, right? Like it's kind of gay to want to watch another man penetrate another woman. It's kind of weird. And I remember 4 years ago when I last watched Korn, I was literally, I had this out-of-body experience where I watched myself from a third-person perspective, and I thought, why is this guy watching a dude, basically pixels on a screen? Like, he's giving his sexual energy to this screen while imagining what it would be like to be the man, like that's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird. You would never, if you saw like your friend or, I don't know, even just some random person out and about, like kissing or something in public, you wouldn't be going to grab your willy waggle right then and there, right? You wouldn't be aiming to do that. You would be maybe a little bit embarrassed. I mean, there's sometimes in public, uh, when there's a lot of public affection, let's say, or public displays of affection, PDAs, people usually get kind of awkward about it because it's an intimate thing, right? It's an intimate thing. And so when you have the option to just go behind the closed door, and you lock your door, you you make sure that nobody can hear you, you look up the whatever it is that you're looking up, and then you start to play with yourself until you release, all for what? You know, because you don't feel anything except for when you're watching that. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, that if your biggest problems are just not watching porn, I think you need bigger problems. I think your problems are too narrow. I think you're maybe too bored. And you know what's crazy is the only boring people, or the people that get bored, are the boring people. I don't know anybody that's, maybe to other people they might seem boring because we take our lives seriously and sincerely, more so sincerely than seriously. But it's almost as if the people that are bored the most easily have the most boring personalities sometimes. They just don't know it. They need like this constant external stimuli to feel something in their life. And that's just not who I am at all. I don't always need something externally to feel good. In fact, even just last night, something that I did was, what was strange is I kind of wanted to meditate. I really wanted to meditate because I was tired of listening to all of these conspiracy type theory things and all of this. And it's not that I'm not interested in it. And it's not that I don't think that there's merit to it or something to learn from these things. But I was just, the more I myself question things, the more I myself question what our narratives that we're being fed are, it's like the more peace that I find. And it's the same kind of thing with the watching porn. Like growing up, we were told, at least I was told, and a lot of men that I've talked to were told, oh, you have to at least like once or twice a month, you have to let it go. Otherwise it's going to be like, a warehouse that gets filled with boxes. Like you got to ship out those boxes, man. And it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't make sense because your body's going to naturally recycle that. And I'm living proof of that. I've been on semen retention since May of 2022. So it's been 3.5 years basically. And the only reason that it's been as impactful as it's been is because it's just been a life choice decision that I'm not even going to entertain the possibility for me to get into temptation. Now, do I have temptations? Yes, of course. Even today at the gym, or at the grocery store. Like there's temptations anywhere you go, really. What about a business event? There's potential for something there as well. But all in all, you just have to avoid those things. You just have to let yourself not be coerced into that. And it's better like to just accept the temptation than to, full on head into it. Because a lot of people just can't control. Like, of course, as Jesus says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I've thought about this verse quite a bit over the past few days. And, it's just like going back to you have to play with yourself at least twice a month or once a month, whatever. As soon as I started to question that was when I started to see things a little bit more clear. I started to see my life to be not as chaotic as it needs to be. And it's like, well, what's going to happen? Because we're told that, you're going to get cancer if you don't. Well, it's been 3.5 years for myself, and as far as I know, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I feel the healthiest I've ever been. Everything's great as far as my health is concerned. my physical health. My physical health is probably the best part about my life right now. And thank God for that, because I know for a fact that that's a form of wealth. Okay, that's a form of wealth for sure. And because a lot of people get caught up in, oh, I need the money or I need the status. It's like, it's not about that. You trying to get rich is not about the money, or you trying to get money is not about the money. It's about sovereignty. It's about the freedom that comes with it. And if you live on less than you make, generally speaking, you're going to be doing just fine. And the same thing goes and applies for corn in your spiritual life. If you're not giving all of what you've conserved for energy, spiritually speaking, if you haven't given all that conserved energy away, because that's what you're doing when you play with yourself and you jack off your willy waggle and you worship the pink palace. You're literally just giving your life energy to demonic strongholds, and you're putting yourself in a stronghold for no real reason. And this is why you need to do acts of purity so that you can get out of that frame of mind. And it's not about just getting out of the frame of mind. It's about, how do I say this appropriately? Because think about this, like meditation. A lot of people think meditation is about, oh, I need to empty my mind. No, meditation isn't about that. Meditation is not about emptying your mind. It's about replacing it with stuff that is going to be good for you. Okay, it's not about, like, you fill it up with stuff from this. Okay, you fill it up with stuff from things like that. You implement the truth in your life and you live the truth. You live out the principles that you know are the best for you, because it's written on our hearts, right? The Bible says that the law is written on our hearts. There's a reason for that. We were created with this. We were created with a conscience. I personally, all right, well, speaking of conspiracies, here we go. And this is just going to be a little bit of fun, okay? Just for a second. It's not going to be anything. I'm not telling you that I'm trying to change your mind here. This is just what I think in my perspective. It's that, do I even want to go into this? I don't know. Because I know people are going to be like, oh, so you don't think that and you don't think this? Okay, look. Again, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. It's just kind of fun to talk about. But the point is like, we don't need to take all of the things that we have as narratives so seriously. Because I have more peace, I have more sovereignty when I question the narratives that we're being fed. And honestly, it makes me feel like a kid again. You know, we had a bunch of rain last night, like a whole bunch of rain. And I was driving to the gym this morning, and I drove through like a big puddle. And you know when you drive through the big puddles and then the water like splashes out on the car and like, or from the car, and you know, it just, and I didn't expect it to be as, you know, as much of a splash as it was. And just a part of me, like as I was driving and I splashed through the water and I saw the water fly, I was like, wow. And I just felt like such a kid, you know. I felt like I was able to enjoy. That's something that I would not have been able to enjoy to its pure fullest if I was a depleted Coomer. It's just not the case. And I'm so grateful that I'm just living the truth now. And I'm questioning things. And I'm not taking anything to be just surface level. Like, sure, there are some things that are just surface level, and that's fine. But all in all, I just feel way more at peace with myself when I'm just following what this says. You know, and it's not about this being the authority, okay? Jesus is the authority, but you don't, like, for me, the way that I look at it is, you don't need to have the Bible to have a relationship to Jesus. But in order to have a closer relationship to Jesus, you're going to need the Bible. So it's part of the same, well, it's part of the same work, right? So to speak. And there's a reason for that. And I think that we're just so caught up in the society of just the doomsday and the doomer maxing. People are doomer maxing without knowing they're doomer maxing. And this is why I say the virtue and vice circle, okay? If you're doomer maxing into vice, but you don't think you are, and then you get mad at yourself later on, or later mad at the other people later on, you're just going further and further into vice without knowing it. You have to make like a conscious decision. Okay, I'm going to go into this vice, and I'm going to go into it so hard. And just to, for example, a lot of people have a lot of trouble with like weight loss because they try to limit themselves. They're seeing themselves as a limiting mindset. And if they just went to town for like a whole day of just eating nonstop, like, can you imagine if you just ate like 10 pizzas in a day and then you had like 10 pounds of ice cream or something? That's just an ungodly amount, right? Of food. If you imagine if you had that, would you even want to eat anything like that for the next who knows how long? I know I wouldn't. And now I'm just to a point now to where, like, last night I have my one cheat meal of the week where I get to have ice cream. And even my brownies that I make with it are they're like protein brownies, and it doesn't even taste bad to me anymore. Like, that's a sugary treat. And the ice cream, I don't need a lot. I just need a little scoop. I'm not trying to eat the whole freaking tub like I used to. It's the same kind of thing with the corn, right? Like, once you start to realize that it's not going to serve you, like the ice cream is not going to serve you all the time. And I'm not saying you need to go out and you need to watch corn, at least whatever, like, or it's okay to do that. I'm just saying that if you're going to do that and you're having a hard time with it, you don't need to get yourself down about it. Just lean into the vice so hard that you don't ever want to do it again. Like, seriously, that's I think one of the best ways to do it. But I'm not making any advice here. I'm just giving my perspective. I'm not telling you how you should live your life. Live your life the way that you think it ought to be lived. So with all that being said, peace be with you all. Until next time.